What's the Richmond, Virginia housing market going to look like this fall? We'll cover that today on your September 21 market update. All right, so the big story this month is the real estate market has begun to soften. Liked a good quote from the chief economist of First American. We're seeing signs of softening in the market, but context is everything. We're still very much in a seller's market. So if you look at this graphic right here, showing time is a service that a lot of us agents use to kind of book and track our showings. So they've got some good data as far as the number of showings in most major metropolitan markets throughout North America. And as you can see, the number of showings has consistently dropped since the month of April this year, if I can actually say that. That being said, we've got to really put that in context. So if we take out the year of 2020, which was just kind of an anomaly year, everything was crazy, and we look back to July of 2019, you will see that while showings have dropped over the last few months, we are still well above what we were seeing in July of 2019, which was very much a seller's market and was very much a good market to be selling a home. So as you can see, we're still well above those numbers for July of 2019. If you look at this graphic, you'll see that roughly half of homes are still selling above asking price. So while we're slowing down, half of homes are still going above asking price. I used the analogy last month. It's kind of like you're flying down, I-64, going a little bit faster than you should. You see one of Virginia State's finest sitting on the side of the highway, and you hit the brake and you slow down from maybe 90, you go into 60. It's going to feel like you're going a whole lot slower, but it's just the context of I've slowed down a good bit, but I'm still going at a pretty good pace, if that makes sense. We're seeing roughly an average across the country. We're seeing an average of 4.5 offers per home, which is still very good, well above the historic norms of getting a little over 2 offers per home. So that's that. So once again, the market is starting to soften or showing signs of softening, but we're still very much in a seller's market. We're still very far from the pendulum swinging the other way. Now, a very interesting graph that I found, I think this is interesting to look at. This will show you the number of listings that historically hit the market. So new listings being activated, coming onto the market, and just kind of shows you the trend over, from January to December over the last 4 or 5 years. Now, as you can see, we pretty much, new listings shoot up, kind of peak out in April, May, and then slowly kind of taper down throughout the rest of the year. And as you can see in 2020, you'll see a big drop kind of when COVID hit, and the number of listings went down significantly. And then it did bounce back up, but we never quite made up for the deficit that we saw in those months from, let's call it April till about June, July. And even in June, July, we were still a good bit below the historic average. So this was a big reason that we were seeing all the inventory shortages. We were seeing prices shoot up. We were seeing all the craziness that we saw in the market in 2021 is because we never really saw the inventory that historically we see come to the market. And of course, buyer demand went through the roof. Now, what's very interesting, we go to the next graphic, you'll see we're looking at the new listings hitting the market in 2021. And what you will notice is that we are still below the historic averages, and we're at a point right now where new listings have been climbing. We're definitely doing better than we were in 2020. But we're at a point now where it's kind of questionable whether or not listings are going to start to taper down or if we're going to see listings still hitting the market. If we still listings still hitting the market, that softening can continue, or market conditions will stay relatively the same as we are right now, where it's becoming a little bit more of a buyer's market. But if those listings taper down, there are a lot of people that say we will kind of head back into the market that we were seeing earlier this year, where we're going to see a shortage of inventory, we're going to see multiple offers on a lot of properties, and we're going to see price appreciation go back up as buyer demand really has not gone down much at all. And I think it'll actually go up now that the kids are back in school. People are back home from vacations and don't have all the distractions that we typically have during the summer months. So going to be very interesting to watch that over the next couple of months. And we already talked about that. Okay, so what does this mean for you? So for sellers, it is still an absolute great time to sell. If we look at the if we look at the numbers, we're still very much in a seller's market. We're still seeing half of listings sell above asking price. We're still seeing 4.5 offers per listing. So just because the market is not what it was back in the spring, look, we can't go backwards, but it's still a very good time to sell. And once again, this kind of ties into what I just said. The market has adjusted from the spring. So if you've heard the stories from your friends and family of kind of the craziness they saw and they got 12 offers and people were offering their firstborn child just to get their homes under contract, realize, yes, that happened, but we're not in that same market. So you got to kind of adjust your expectations of what you're going to be able to accomplish, what you're going to see when you list your home in the fall. And along with that, pricing and property condition actually matter again. They've always mattered, but for a little while there, it almost seemed like they didn't. You know, it's kind of name your price, name your terms. Don't worry about fixing your house up. Don't worry about staging. Don't worry about any of that. And homes were still selling with you know, in a great rush. Those things matter now. There's more inventory on the market. You know, buyers have more choices. So if you're not pricing appropriately, if you're not getting your home ready, doing all the things that historically realtors recommend doing, you're probably not going to see as good a results as you might think you will. For buyers, prices are not projected to go down. So I've had a number of conversations recently where people are saying, hey, I'm going to wait till the market crashes. I'm going to wait till the market cools off. And while the market has cooled off a little bit and the rate of appreciation has slowed down a little bit, prices are not projected to go down, nor have we seen prices come down. So the longer you wait, the more expensive it's going to get. Things aren't getting as expensive as quickly, but they're still getting more expensive as time goes on. But I would absolutely take advantage of this market softening. You know, back a few months ago, buyers were having to offer all types of crazy terms. They were having to offer crazy amounts over asking price. They were having to guarantee a whole bunch of cash out of pocket, which knocked a lot of people out of the market. The market has softened a little bit. So if you were somebody that kind of checked yourself out of the market because you weren't able to find something, just realizing we're not seeing the same conditions as we were just a few months ago. And then last but not least, realize, hey, inventory levels could drop again. So we kind of shared that earlier in this video of if the market kind of tapers off or new listings taper off, as historically they do around this time of year, we could see competitiveness come back up. We could see prices start to accelerate a little bit more, and we could see more and more competition for a fewer and fewer amount of listings. So if you see something that looks good to you, it might be advantageous to go ahead and lock it in now, as opposed to waiting longer till the market gets better. So hope that makes sense. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead, put them in the comment box below. I look forward to seeing you next month.